Hello, hello. Welcome one and all. This is not your average Tales of Vardin week. Because Chris is not sitting in this DMing seat. It's chaos! Hello, I am KJ. I will be the DM for tonight's adventure. We should have 2 more players eventually tonight. We'll see how the game goes and how the night runs. But let's introduce our players for tonight, starting with Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I will be playing Ethan Monsieur, a marquis that has been invited to this particular soiree, let's just say. But I'm excited to see what happens. I know nothing else. I only know that I have an invitation. So we're going to show up and see what happens.
And to Taylor.
I guess it's my turn. Hello, my name is Taylor, also known as Nerdy Pinup Girl on all social media platforms, mainly active on TikTok and Instagram. If you like cosplay, special effects makeup, Spashable monsters, you should totally give me a follow. Today I will be playing Rhea Silverclaw. She is a Tabaxi sorceress. And she too is very curious as to why Nathan has invited her to this elaborate masquerade.
The 2 additional players that will be joining us hopefully sooner than later are Dia, who is diaball.cosplay on most of her different socials, who will be playing, I don't know her character's last name, but she will be playing one of her TikTok OCs, Queen Juliet, the Pirate Queen. And then I think Matt will probably get here last, and he is playing Archduke Vidal, an Order Domain cleric. We will hopefully see them soon. It'll be great. Even better adventures. But in the meantime, all that these 4 guests know is that they've been invited by none other than Lord Nathan von Dryel to his estate, his own mansion, to a masquerade of some kind. Now, this is curious due to the fact that it is unheard of for Nathan to host events like this, especially on his own property, his own domain. So there's a bit of intrigue with the excitement of arriving at such an estate. Why have they been called here? What is Nathan's intentions? These questions and more have yet to be diced. All right. As the sun slowly sets on the horizon, most people are returning to their homes, going about whatever business they have. However, a few carriages trail their way across the countryside into a forest known as the domain of none other than Nathan von Dryel himself. If you've ever been here, so it's quite a sight as you enter this beautiful forest with collections of different trees and different plant life that is, for the most part, only native here. For those who might know of it, some of it is Fae-inspired or comes from the Feywilds, so it's curious to see it here.
It's a nerd person.
Shut up.
You have my book.
As you're traveling, there's not very many buildings around here. Not much can be seen outside of the wilderness that resides here. Animals can be seen through the carriage windows. But as you draw closer, you find yourselves at a gate. There are 2 guards at the gates that stop every carriage as they pass, asking for the invitation cards that you were sent with the seal of Nithan on them. Now, a couple of carriages go through. No problems seem to happen. Everything's fine. But every time a carriage enters through this gate, there's a ripple that occurs. You're not quite sure what it is, but one by one, each of you are stopped at the gate. In your carriages, you show these invitations to the guards at the gate and you're let through. As you pass through this gate, there's this magical effect that passes through you, and any kind of magic that had been altering your appearance or hiding some kind of identity marker dissipates. It seems to be a simple security measure, but you know well, nobody within these gates can hide who they are. Now, as you travel a little bit further up a very long drive, you see a very large, ornate mansion, very much inspired by the Victorian style. Very grandiose, but very simple, to the point. Nothing is not there if it doesn't need to be. There's a handful of carriages, probably 10 to 12, with a variety of people stepping out and up into the mansion. Our camera draws to one carriage in particular, housing Ethan Moonshear. As he steps out of his carriage, and large double doors await him.
Is there anyone with me? Has anyone come with me in the carriage? Any sort of entourage or anything like that?
In your invitation, you were told you could bring a +1, whether that be a bodyguard or significant other, but no one else was allowed with you.
Okay. I think Ethan would have gone alone on this one. I'd just signal to his driver. Yes, just put it around back and I will be with you once we are done this evening. Huh? Thank you. Well, this is very interesting. Do I recognize any of the people going through, or have they already gone ahead?
There are people who are stopping alongside with your carriage and stepping out as well. You'd probably recognize 1 or 2, just some very well-known political figures, people of import, who you've probably seen at meetings or dealings that Nathan has also been a part of. It seems like nobody here is someone who has not had personal dealings with Nathan. Everyone here has had some hand or interaction with him personally.
Okay. Very good. In that case, he's basically just trying to case what's happening here and who is coming, kind of get his bearings before he enters these doors. So he'll just signal to another one of the guests. Monsieur Gifford, come. Yes, have you? This is amazing. Have you seen such structures like this? It's quite amazing. Let us enter and see what is in store.
As you're talking to this gentleman, from behind you, Rhea appears from her carriage as well. If you had brought a bodyguard or a significant other of some kind, feel free to describe them as well as yourself.
So, Rhea, Countess Rhea Silverclaw She steps out of the carriage with pretty much kind of like her handmaiden, or like her handmaiden, her lady in waiting. Just someone who's like confidant, good friend that she always keeps by her side, that she's known since childhood. And she would be like a smaller kind of white kitty, like white cat tabaxi. Very pretty and soft spoken, with a little pink nose, and just very not casual, but very just muted sort of robes. And then moving to Rhea, she has this very deep red fur, and these bright green eyes that look like gemstones, and she kind of has like very long, kind of like a Maine Coon sort of look and appearance to her. And she is wearing just very long and flowy dark blue robes that have like silver constellations sewn into them, and just jewels embroidered along the heart neckline, and kind of like a bit of a shawl over her, and long gloves over her kitty beans. And she will probably have like a dark mask that is in two portions that covers her, that will cover the upper half of her face. And of course, earrings all along her ears as she kind of steps out. A light little jingle from one of them that is a bell just chimes as she looks at the whole like place around her. And have any of us been here before, or is Knifen known to like not bring anybody to his establishment?
You've been to this area, into this forest before, because you have worked under Nyson at one point in your career. So there's a couple of establishments in this forested area that you've been to, but never to his manor in particular. It's very rare that you've ever seen him invite somebody in.
Okay. So Rhea will probably like just take a look at the beautiful sight before her as she turns to her friend, and she just goes,
"Leah, I have never seen anything like this. I didn't, but I knew that he had such exquisite taste, but this is rather breathtaking. Might I suggest take a moment to remember this?"
And she's going to slowly make her way inside. She's going to casually look about here and there, taking in, especially with her connections. She tends to know like a lot of individuals, but she mainly kind of keeps to herself unless somebody approaches her. So she just kind of gives polite smiles and nods, and just makes her way through the crowds as she goes through the gates.
So as you enter these double doors in the front of this established mansion of grandeur, you're immediately hit with light, with music. As you step through the threshold, you're greeted with all kinds of joyful sights and sounds. Many people have already entered and are talking amongst themselves. A live little band is playing off to the side, just very light, welcoming music, not quite dance music quite yet. You had received the invitation by Nythan with very little details as to what was to happen tonight. But across the foyer, as you enter, in front of you is a large staircase that leads up to a second floor that graces the far wall. Across the foyer here, all across the walls, are portraits. You assume to be maybe family, some friends, a couple of maybe even important connections that Nythan holds. Everything is graced with golden accents. There are beautiful maroon and dark navy curtains that adorn the corners and a couple of pillars across the room. Candelabras light the walls, providing a very warm interior light around you. There's various people here of styles and levels of dress that are wandering and mingling as the music floats across the air, adding to the upbeat and joyous environment that you find yourselves in. What would you like to do now that you have entered?
Drinks and hors d'oeuvres would be my first particular inclination.
You do see a couple of people with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres being passed around.
I will take 2 champagnes and look around the room to see if I see anyone of particular interest.
When you say a particular interest, what exactly are you going for?
Someone else that I know that I might have had some sort of dealing with, or I think... Hang on.
Oh.
Okay. I think with how bright Rhea is, probably would be the one thing across the crowd that just pops, that just is drawn to that. So he'll go ahead and make his way over with the extra glass of champagne.
All right.
Do I know Countess? Have I heard of her?
Given the circles that you run in, you would know her via her old connection with Nathan. There's probably a file somewhere that has some of her more recent movements and status and accomplishments, but the thing that pings in the back of your mind is the fact that, once again, this is another person who is connected in some form to Nathan himself.
Okay. Might I say good evening, Countess Silverclaw? It is very nice to see you here.
Rhea will turn as she reaches out you're offering the drink, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, just offering.
And she will take a gloved hand, just softly pluck the glass of champagne, and she will take a sip she'll cheers slightly, and as she takes a sip, and she goes,
Mr. Moonshare, it's been quite a moment since I've seen you.
A little while. Any idea what brings you to this particular place?
Well, you know Nathan. He always likes to keep details to himself until he's ready to reveal them. All I know is he's invited me here. That is all.
Of course, yes. Well, I'm for one am excited to actually be here. I did not realize how large this place would be. Have you seen our host?
I have not seen them yet.
That's very unfortunate.
I would imagine he was waiting for all the guests to arrive before he makes his entrance.
Yeah, but of course, a man of his class. Sure.
Oh, absolutely, and always so full of surprises.
Yes, quite a few.
Well, is there any particular reason as to you were brought here, or are you under the same mysterious circumstances?
Oh, the same. I am merely trying to get a grip on the situation, if you will. The one thing that I have noticed is that each one of these people has some sort of personal connection to our host. Now that intrigues me even more.
I've taken notice of that as well in many ways. There's many people who I've worked with while working under Nathan who happen to be here, and some old faces, some newer ones I've seen and heard about here and there. But perhaps he is trying to... I don't know. It is so interesting to wonder why he would bring us all together like this.
Perhaps it is just a thank you for service over the years. I knew he had a very vast network of people, but I did not realize that it was quite this large.
I didn't realize Knifin was one to mix all sorts of businesses he has under one roof.
As you two are talking, can I get perception checks from both of you?
Sure. Gotta pull up my page, I'm sorry. Whew.
Say 28.
That was a fucking solid first roll. You said perception? That will be a 26.
Realizing I should also pull out dice. All right. So as both of you are conversing, kind of face to face, being able to see over the other shoulder, Ethan, you catch a glimpse of a relatively tall man, carries himself with a very proper, regal manner, who you recognize to be Alphonse Whitseeker, who you know to be Nathan's personal assistant and advisor. A lot of people have rumors and cues that he's nothing more than a butler, but given the information you know, he acts as a bit more than just a butler. Outwardly, that is kind of the role he plays, but he has a lot of knowledge and experience in things that most people don't know about. And Rhea, over Ethan's shoulder, you see a different man. More built in stature, very handsome, dressed to show his physique. Not outrageously so, but the outfit he's wearing is meant to accentuate his physical form. You recognize this as Cheyenne Darkstream, who is typically Nathan's bodyguard.
Smash, first and foremost. Rhea probably wouldn't say anything at first. She'd probably raise a whiskered brow for a moment, and she's going to just kind of watch and see where this individual is going.
He seems to just be chatting with some of the guests, particularly those who you both would know are more of Nathan's. I guess the closest thing I could put it to is kind of like his old military buddies, some of the people that he has more combat training and stuff in. The people he talks to that are more towards the fighting style of life.
Okay. And if you don't mind writing those names down so I will forget them.
Ethan will take a moment and dismiss himself from Rhea. I seem to be out of champagne. I will go look for another. Excuse me.
Yes.
And he's going to make it for Alphonse Whitseeker.
As you approach, catching more of his appearance now that you're getting closer to him, he's dressed in a very tailored black suit with these silver accents on it. Very similar to the design of the vest that Nathan is usually seen wearing, of that just kind of ivy-looking decorum. Being that no one can hide their appearance here, outside of the normal, very pleasing look that he usually carries, Alphonse is in his true form. The top half of his face, almost spider-like in its black appearance and kind of leathery carapace. Two horns protrude out the top of his head that curve back, almost touching at the tips, forming almost a halo in some kind of an ironic way, and some horns that protrude out his jawline with glowing white eyes. A couple of fangs adorn his lips, but he seems to just be chatting with one of the serpents here before he sends him on his way.
And Ethan knows Alphonse then by name.
You've heard his name before,
Okay.
because you've been at a couple of the meetings due to your status that Nathan has brought him to.
Okay. So, being in their true form, would Ethan, like, how much would they recognize that this might be Alphonse?
You recognize his voice immediately. That
Okay.
is the strongest indicator. And his body build is the same. It's just his face.
It's just different.
Face
Okay.
that looks different.
Very good. Excuse me, and if this is any importance, Ethan is 5'10", so he's not super tall, but he's not super short. He's right, kind of probably at shoulder length on everybody in here. But he's gonna waltz up to Alphonse and Alphonse, if I am not mistaken.
Yes, Ethan, correct?
Yes, correct. Good memory. I do not mean to wish to be too forward here. I have been enjoying the party so far, and
It's good.
holds up the mostly empty kind of champagne glass, and very, very, very good vintage. But I can't help but notice that our host is not quite present yet, and that is all right. He has his own things to do, you know. But I have brought and he reaches behind him through his cloak and brings out a bottle of wine. I was hoping to give him this gift. We have never been invited to his home, so as a first-time guest, I would like to present it to him. He said last time we were talking and at a wine tasting at one of my facilities that he likes something red and full-bodied, so that is what I brought.
As of current time, Nathan is finishing up a little bit of work that he got caught up in just before we opened the gates, but he should be down relatively soon.
Of course, business before pleasure. If it is all right, I can leave it somewhere, or if you see him first before I do, just send him my way and I can give it to him. Yeah?
I will do that.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Restrooms. Which way?
Up the grand staircase to your right, all the way down the hall.
Perfect. Thank you.
And if you're walking away, you'll notice he is watching where you're going.
Mm-hmm. I follow the directions to the restroom. Just along the way, taking in as much information as I can. Not in any sort of... I'm not trying to sneak. I'm not trying to be unseen. But I'm sure other people are doing the same thing. They've never been here before. It's a curiosity.
Yeah, it's about taking in a place that you've never been to and know that not very many people have.
So
as you go up the grand staircase and follow the directions, from what you've seen, at least in the main foyer area, a lot of it is decorative to kind of appease to the people coming in, not necessarily to the owner of this mansion. As you upstairs, however, you notice it becomes a lot less presentery. It's not as eloquent in the displays of things. It is still very put together and very stylistic in choice and in fashion, but it's not nearly as out there. It's very subtle, very simplistic. Everything still looks very delicate and very gorgeous, but everything has a purpose,
Right.
which is a theme you're noticing. Nothing is here that doesn't need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what you're seeing so far. If you want to make an investigation check for anything in particular, you are free to do so.
Noticing that there's nothing here that doesn't need to be, are there any sort of doors that might be open on the way down? Like, what are those rooms? Like, what do they do?
Are you checking the doors?
Are there any open? If not, then yes, I'll go
There
ahead and check
are.
the whole.
There's about 5 doors down this hallway, outside of the one that you've been told leads to the restroom. The first 2 you come across do seem to be locked. The third one is not.
I'll give it a crack open and peek inside, just out of more of a curiosity.
Inside this room, it seems to be not exactly a study. There's no desk here, but bookshelves line 2 of the walls that are just filled floor to ceiling with volume after volume of anything and everything you can think of. Some of them you can't read because they're in a language that you don't understand. Some of them you pick up, he probably brought with him from the Feywild.
Mm-hmm.
Others are from here. There's quite a few about the history of Vardin in general, from all over the place, dating back hundreds of years. You're not sure if these were handed down to him or ones that he got himself, as it's not clear to the public how old Nathan really is. There's a piano set off to the corner in one side, a very nice rug, and a couple of chairs in here, but not much else.
Does this seem to be a personal study, or is this something that is maybe used by, like, set up as guests? Again, nothing so far has been here without purpose, and he's not a very public person. This is like the first time that I've come here and been here, so it's unusual.
It doesn't look to be a personal study of any kind.
Okay.
But it also doesn't look like it's meant for other people. It looks, with a 16 investigation from pick details here and there, it's presented almost like a place of leisure that he can come and read, or have other people who he trusts being here to come and just read. It seems like none of the information that is in this room isn't something Nathan wouldn't willingly let people have access to.
Right. One more thing in this room, and then I will be done. How well worn do these books seem?
Some look more worn than others. There's about 4 of them that look like they've seen the most use, and they're the ones that are the highest up. There is a ladder that revolves on a track that you're able to access everything. Some of them look relatively new, like he hasn't read them very often. Others look like they're ones he returns to quite often.
Is it simply because they are age, or like, how do I phrase this words? Are they worn because they're old and they've had so much time to be read, or are they worn because of how many times they've been read in a short period of time, if that makes any sense?
With a 16, none of these books are worn because of age.
Okay. And the subject matter, do they align? Are they like common? Would you be able to cross-reference them?
Are you specifically looking at the ones that have more worn use in them?
Yes.
So of the 4 that looks like they are read the most often, one of them you can't read because it's in a script in a language that you don't understand. But if you take it and flip through from the pictures that you're seeing, you see brief depictions of regions of the Feywild in particular, and a couple of pictures of what looks to be a wartime.
Okay.
The next book, as you flip through it, it's written in Common. It seems to be kind of a history, but more of an autobiography from somebody. Some of the things that are mentioned in here that catch your eye are mentions of a particular vampiric cult, a couple of other high-end organizations that through the years were toppled due to people or other organizations that they just weren't needed anymore, were doing harm to the civilization, and so they were taken out over the years. But other than that, this book in particular just seems to be about kind of a history of different kinds of organizations that were toppled. The next one seems to be a book about a family history. It's... What languages do you speak?
Abyssal, Common, Giant, and Thieves' Cant.
You can't read this, but you can identify it as Elvish script. It's a very common one that you've seen across your time. But you do notice little marks and ticks that people who use Thieves' Cant will leave in texts. That seems to be little notations to change the meaning of whatever the context of this book is.
And you said this was the family history one?
It looks to be a family history of some kind.
Okay. With the Thieves' Cant, what... questions. You said the Thieves' Cant is changing it?
The Thieves' Cant, they're small notations that you can recognize, even though you don't read Elvish, that you recognize will change the meaning of a word.
Okay. Is it changing it to a good connotation, bad connotation, or just neutral?
You can't really tell.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'll put it back and head to where I was going in the first place. Just a little investigation to see a little bit more about our host, perhaps before meeting him again face to face.
Is it my turn?
Go for it. Hop
the
in.
camera pans back down to the foyer. I see Rhea alone with her champagne glass. What are you doing?
Rhea probably would have turned to her assistant and probably excused her, allow her to enjoy herself and enjoy the party. She's not really one for like having her with her hand on foot. She's more just, again, someone who's always kind of by her side, but like she doesn't really treat her like a maid or a butler or a servant of any sorts. She's just more kind of there for emotional support and like to listen to her rant when she needs to. So she's gonna go and let her do her thing. And I would say Rhea, upon seeing Cheyenne, would just kind of wave the last little bit of champagne in her glass, downing it, walking over as she grabs another one, and just kind of gently taps the side of the glass with her gloved hand as she approaches him and gives a very soft smile. And she goes, "Cheyenne, it's been so long since I've seen you. You're looking well."
He nods politely at you. It has been some time since we have met each other. How have you been?
Oh, I've been good, keeping myself busy as always. Got plenty of places to go, things to do, fires to put out. The usual. Have you seen our host of the evening today, or is he off doing his own thing as he always does?
You see he looks around, looking specifically for someone, finds whoever he's looking for, seems to exchange a glance, kind of exchanging information almost like he was asking a question without actually verbally asking one, and just kind of turns back to you. It seems he is finishing up some work, but he should be out soon.
Rhea kind of just like, again, just kind of casually raises a whiskered brow as like taking notice of like the gesture, and she nods and she goes,
Well, I look forward to seeing him. It's been many, many years, I believe, since the last time we've met up, and I'm rather surprised to see so many people under so many different things that he does and under one roof. Do you know why such a celebratory occasion is being held today?
I know some of it is because he has grown in his open-mindedness as of late, to some extent. I know, a surprise to all of us. And wanted to handpick some people that he knows and has connections with to allow them into his home, as it's not something he does often. A show of confidence. And he'll offer you his arm. Would you like a tour?
Ooh, absolutely. And she will just kind of gently like hook her arm with his, and as she walks along beside him, and she's gonna kind of like just be looking at all of the the exquisite just detail and everything that like just she is always one for like shiny things and just very pretty things. But God damn it! I lost my train of thought for a minute. But let's go on that tour, shall we?
So he will guide you out of the main foyer area through. There's 2 doors on the sides of the staircase that lead out into other rooms on the first floor. It seems most of the first floor is purely for entertaining guests. None of it is something that you could really see Nathan, over your experience of working with him, spending any of his time really doing anything with if he didn't have people over. There's a smoke room, there's a sitting room, very stereotypical to a lot of your Victorian homes where after a dinner the men and women would separate into those rooms, and between those rooms you do find this extensive, exquisite banquet hall. It's not terribly large in any case, even though Cheyenne does call it a banquet hall, but it can sit quite a number of people. It's not super ostentatious. It's very elegant in its own right, but very simplistic. Nothing is here that doesn't need to be. And as he takes you through more of the hall, you find the kitchens, which a lot of manors will have in a basement level area to keep the servants out of the main area. You found Nathan doesn't care if his servants are seen. They have a little bit higher of a level of respect here than a lot of other people give their staff. There's bedrooms down here, some of which you aren't allowed to go down because it's his servants' quarters. There's a pool room. There's a couple of other entertainment-styled rooms, a piano room. More guest quarters is what it looks like. A library, a lounge. But that's about all that's on the bottom floor.
Rhea will like just be taking all of this in and just taking in like the moments of like the little details, and like you had mentioned before how it's simplistic yet it's also like everything is there for a reason. And she just kind of gives like a slight smile as she is just taking this all, and she goes,
I must say, Nathan has exquisite taste. Well, not just exquisite, might I even say efficient. Though I should never be surprised, considering he has always been well prepared since I've met him so long ago.
Well, don't tell him that I told you this. He, like a lot of people here, built himself from the ground up, so he came from a lifestyle where you had to be efficient with what you had, nothing in excess.
I always find those who have built themselves from the ground up to be much more efficient. I find those who were born with a silver spoon in their mouth can be quite reckless, thinking money can save them from all their troubles.
You and me both. And he'll lead you back into the foyer, where you see there's only a couple of people who are trickling in at this point, but there's one in particular that strikes your eye as her attire doesn't match a lot of the other lords and ladies and marquises and countesses that are here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
You see before you a fairly short woman, appears to be human, has sort of dark hair that at first seems black and light, but continue to look closer and it catches the candle at just the right angle. Seems to actually be a dark red wine color. Used golden eyes, taken all these miracles and fancy food, accoutrements. And there seems to be an almost nostalgic look on her face.
You enter in, and I'll redescribe the area for you. You enter into this main foyer. It's quite spacious. On the far wall, matching the door, is a grand staircase that splits two directions to a second floor. There's curtains here that drape across a couple of columns and in the corners of the room of maroons and navy colors. All of the accents here are in golden light. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but all of the accented decorations across the walls and the ceilings here are all in this vine pattern, very much centered in nature. There's candelabras that light the room in a warm light, nothing abrasive. It feels very welcoming. There's music being played and people that are chatting. There's not a ton of people here, but considering that you know that nobody is ever invited into Nathan's home, this is a lot comparatively. There's about 20 to 24 people meandering around. You're assuming he sent out 10 to 12 invitations and people brought +1s.
This is a ball by his standards. I'm quite impressed.
I think at this point, Ethan would be descending the staircase and obviously make not eye contact, but notice the person coming in the door, and he's just going to kind of sit there for a moment.
You do notice, because you know so far everybody here has a personal connection with Nathan. You don't know her.
does Rhea know her at all, considering her like political connections and things like that?
You would have heard of her while you were working with Nathan, but outside of that, I don't think you would be in the same circles that she would have been in.
Okay. Would she know what she looked like, or like would this be a situation like whenever somebody enters the door, they're like Queen Juliette de Rosaire, or like do they call out their title, or
Nobody here has been announced.
okay, all right. I
will say whether you know what she looks like or not, I'll leave up to Dia. How well known do you think you would be in this circle?
That depends. What is your background, Raya? What is your
Rhea is a countess. She is of noble descent, but she is very well known to work extremely hard. She pretty much stays on the level that she's at because when she can manage it, and she manages it very well as a countess, and she's able to pretty much. She's very much known to be extremely helpful and try everything she can for the people she rules over, and as well as try to make the best like political connections possible. And also worked under Knifen for a while, pretty much learning those kinds of political connections, and a lot of things she learned from Knifen.
I will throw in there, because of how, Juliet, you know Nathan, you are vaguely familiar with Rhea because one of the reasons you know Nathan and you have a tenuous relationship, she was there that day.
It's kind of hard to miss like a giant red furred kitty cat. She's very bright and out there. So if Juliet was there that day, would she have even known if Juliet was like who she was like during that day, or would it have been like way too tense to like even acknowledge in the situation?
I'll leave that up to Dia.
Which day are we
intense-
talking about? There's been so many.
I will message you that as to not spoil things. Find it.
In the meantime, 2 questions just for Raya's sake. How old is Raya? And how in tune is she with court gossip?
With court gossip, she is extremely in tune with court gossip. Like she knows a lot of dirty secrets, and she also is, but she's extremely charismatic. She's known to be very, very sweet, very kind, and extremely just gentle, just a very soft, like not exactly soft spoken, but she comes across as just good vibes.
Okay. Roll a perception check from where you are.
Okay. And Rhea is, I would say Rhea is probably about 33, 34. That is a 14 plus 7, I think. Give me a moment. But yeah, 14 plus 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
From where you stand, you see red hair. And then past that, you see gold eyes.
Can you repeat that, please?
You see gold hair. Sorry, you see red hair. But on closer inspection, you see gold eyes. And you know that red hair and gold eyes are features both associated with the noble house that Zeros here. This triggers a memory for you because, several years ago, there was a little bit of a scandal where there was whispers on the vine that their only daughter eloped, and no one heard from her much again.
Okay. I'm debating how I want to go about this. So Rhea, I would say probably will take a moment. She probably glances over, seeing Ethan ascending down the staircase, and she will then turn back to Juliet as she takes another sip of her champagne and just walks over, giving a very pleasant smile and a very just light curtsy as she greets her, and just goes,
Forgive me for asking, but those golden eyes of yours, they seem rather familiar. I believe I might have met you somewhere before. I'm Rhea Silverclaw. I am Countess Rhea Silverclaw.
We have met before. Charmed, you look much better than when I saw you last.
Might I say the same for you? So, has Knifen given you any reason as to why he's brought you here?
Haven't a clue.
Seems
Curious.
all kept in the dark, huh?
I haven't known them to be so social.
Can you repeat that? You're kind of like blacking out, like blanking out, like we can hear you from the beginning, but it cuts out in the center.
God, 1 second. Testing. I've just changed. I've upped the volume a little bit.
That is much
Yeah, I just tuned up. Not at the bottom. Juliet says she is curious. She doesn't know Nathan to be the sociable shorts. Is this a coup? Are we walking into a coup? That would be fun.
Can I run an insight check on Juliet to see what sort of libation they would prefer?
Go for it.
libation.
What sort of drink they would prefer?
Okay, I was curious about that. Like,
That's a 17 plus insight plus 5. It's not bad. 22.
You get the idea just from her hair and the several dozen golden bejeweled necklaces sort of layered almost nonchalantly and yet not gaudy, just there, maximalist. You get the idea this is a woman who does prefer a darker liquor.
Is there any such sort of thing available, Master Storyteller?
Doing all the things. Hold on. For the most part, you do see all that's being served openly just by default is champagnes and lighter alcohols. But if you wanted to go up to a servant and ask, they are willing to bring something out for you.
Absolutely.
and Ethan's he got the swag.
Something dark and stormy.
Actually, my
Crack rum.
drink. That's Dia's favorite. Just so you guys know, that's Dia's go-to drink.
Love that.
Just so you know.
I would then like to take a refill for Raya and the drink for Juliet and stealth my way through the people, kind
Roll
of
a stealth
zigzag
check.
and turn and pivot and swivel.
You guys are free to roll perception checks if you would like to try to see him maneuvering.
I would say Rhea is probably more focused on like Juliet right now, just kind of trying to like read her and like just taking her ultimate vibes right now. I don't think she would really be like, she can tell that Juliet is a very powerful woman, and she is just kind of like, who is this bitch? She's powerful.
Okay.
And, like,
Just so you know, Juliet's passive perception is 24 and she just rolled a 30.
Jesus
Oof.
Christ.
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
And Chris, what did you say you rolled?
It's 32. It's in chat there. He's in the walls.
you go unnoticed by anybody that you're looking at. Nobody seems to notice you maneuvering through this crowd.
I almost don't even seem to look at anyone. I am just completely aware of where they're at and moving through underneath one of the trays and seemingly out of nowhere, twirl around. Hands the champagne over to Raya. As soon as she takes it, goes, and this one is for you. Might I make your acquaintance?
You absolutely may. Juliet, who might you be?
Ethan Monsieur.
Ethan.
It is
Pleasure.
quite a pleasure. Yes, I don't think I have met you before, which is very interesting because everyone here has a personal connection to our host. What sort of connection do you have?
I will say, because I didn't tell you a whole ton of your connections between yourself and Nathan, outside of what you already know, you do know that you've had a couple of dealings with Nathan or his proxies, his like tight-knit group of right-hand people, dealing with trade, dealing with hiring some of your people for jobs for other missions. So you've worked with him, but there is a tense relationship due to what you are already aware of.
Yes. So you see, Juliet isn't even hiding her amusement. Oh, what a question. Well, we didn't exactly start off on the best terms, but I do hope we've reached an understanding of sorts. And as she speaks, she turns to the corner where she sees Elevair Haven Gazer, raises a drink and a nod towards
You
my
do
brother.
see that she is watching you.
Just acknowledges, takes a drink.
Rhea is just silent as she's drinking this in right now. Just like she will turn over to Ethan and just kind of raise her glass. And she goes,
Mr. Moonshare, I must say you are always right on time, especially when it comes to making sure a lady's glass never stays empty.
It is my pleasure to do so. I'm very excited about what is to come this evening. It seems that things are moving. I like that.
I'm very curious as to what he has in store for us. It just makes me wonder, what kind of crazy thing is he up to nowadays?
That is a question we are all asking.
I can never tell what he's thinking.
is there any like hors d'oeuvres or anything coming around?
There are people wandering around with a handful of different hors d'oeuvres on platters, same as the champagne that's being handed around.
All right.
You have been told on your little invite there will eventually be a meal served, but you have not heard anything of that yet.
All right. So upon seeing like a little platter of like I'm like something with like tuna or fish, Rhea is going to bite the middle finger of her glove and pull it off, and you see these almost blue silver like claws that are like painted into like a bluish silver color, and she is going to pluck one of the hors d'oeuvres off and pop it into her mouth, knowing and hearing that Nathan, and remembering that Nathan's like cooks and chefs were always absolutely top notch.
I didn't catch up at the beginning because I wasn't here, but where is our actual like location geographically we're talking about?
So, on a map, I don't know. I haven't decided on that yet, because I only have one map from a one-shot mini-series we did, but that's further in the future. But generalized, when you were arriving here, you rode through a meadow area that led into this beautiful forested area that had a lot of very unique kinds of wildlife and plant life that is very particularly Fey inspired or from the Fey wild that you assume is here because of Nathan's influence. You also note, as you passed through the main gates, any kind of spell or effect that might have been on your person or anything on your person that is to change one's appearance or hide part of your identity is dispelled. So everybody here is exactly who they are. There is no trickery via magic happening here.
I will say, after popping the hors d'oeuvre in her mouth, you do hear a slight purr coming from Rhea. As she like kind of just savors the flavor.
I love Tabaxi. That's so good.
Oh my god. I've been dying to play a Tabaxi for so long. And after she's done, she'll just she'll finally stop purring and just go,
Oh, I have absolutely missed this kind of cooking. I swear, it's like they cast a spell on these things.
Well, you never know.
I've been very good at deciphering if something's been tampered with, but either way, I'm gonna enjoy it nonetheless.
Does it seem like the food might have some sort of enhanced effect or magical effect at all? Just because Juliet is curious and we are surrounded by foe.
Make an Arcana check.
The food is poisoned!
Ethan has
That
shoved
is
like
a
3 of
bad
those
one.
hors d'oeuvres in his mouth at this point.
Twenty-
Seeing how good they are.
That's just a 20. That's a dirty 20.
With a 20, it
Yeah.
doesn't seem that there's any magical effects in this or any magic that is used to enhance the preparation of it. It just seems that he has some very skilled cooks.
It's just chemistry, yo. Look at that.
the only magical effect is that it's made with love.
Yeah. Juliet's gonna take one and just like smaller bites because she doesn't want to smear her lipstick.
As
I
you
will say
should.
Rhea will be licking the ends of her paws.
So more time passes, and Nathan has yet to make his appearance. There's one, maybe two people that trickle in, but it's getting longer and longer in intervals. It seems like most everybody that has been invited is here. And from down the main staircase, you see an individual almost arrogantly prance his way into this main foyer as people have kind of been gathered into this room. He is quite tall and very built. He wears this entirely open white shirt that is very obviously meant to display his physique. You see on the skin that is exposed tattoos that decorate his skin. He has very short white cropped hair. He wears this majestic blue half cloak with fur on the top that makes him almost seem like a lion, if you will. A very outward presence and physique. Black pants with his knee-high, very decorative black boots. These very striking ice blue eyes. This, honestly, he's wearing guyliner. He's got this very comfortable in his presentation and is going to flaunt it for all he's worth because he can, as he walks down the staircase, stopping at the last couple of steps and just arms wide open in a very unnecessarily exotic way. Kind of giving Playboy vibes, not gonna lie. He just clears his throat to the room. Everybody, if you will, the host of this evening is almost through with his business, but he has asked that I direct all of you to the banquet hall for the meal that was told to be provided to you. He will join us there once he is finished, and then will make his way through the crowd out, leading everybody to the banquet dining hall.
The host is never late, everyone else is simply early.
You know, Nathan, he probably is going to make some grand entrance.
And with that, Rhea's going to start making her way over to the banquet hall as she kind of turns back and to Ethan and Juliet and just goes,
Might you two care to join me at the table?
Oh, but of course.
Of course.
As you enter the banquet hall, The table has now, outside of when Rhea was given the tour here, been entirely set. There's very fine plateware and crystal cups that have been set out, all very simplistic and for a purpose. None of it is overly presentory. It's still very beautiful and elegant in its design. But once again, nothing is here without a purpose. There are name cards in front of each seat. The very front of the table, obviously, is for the host, Nathan. Curiously enough, opposing on the opposite end of the table is where Juliet's name has been placed. And roughly scattered throughout, Ethan and Rhea sit opposite each other on the table. You notice his right-hand woman, Elivar, is sitting on the right side of the table of where Nathan would be sitting. And the man who had announced himself down the staircase, who Ethan would recognize as Pharaoh Castwood. You're not entirely sure what his purpose in Nathan's network is, but he's very ostentatious and will make himself heard. So you've heard and seen him, but you aren't quite sure what he does. Sits on the left hand as Cheyenne stands behind Nathan's chair with Alphonse opposing him. Everybody finds their seats and gets settled. Everybody chatting for a couple of minutes before a bell is rung and food is presented. It seems like it will probably be a 3-course meal as they start with either your choice of a soup or a salad. They have this very creamy, elegant potato broccoli soup, or a very traditional Feywild salad that none of you are quite sure what it's called, but it's very bright in color and in presentation with very fragrant smells.
Yeah, we'll take the salad.
I think Rhea would probably take the soup.
It's obviously a Fey trap. So, as you're presented with the options, you are served whatever it is that you have chosen, and conversation is continued to be had, and still your host is nowhere to be found. You see Alphonse and Cheyenne conversing with each other before Cheyenne leaves the room.
Do they seem agitated or bothered at all? Like his staff or his right-hand people?
Alphonse and Cheyenne seem to be... Make an insight check.
That is a 25.
Whew.
Natural 20 for 25.
They almost seem to be on edge, not in anxiety, but almost a little bit impatient. Like they're waiting for something to happen and it hasn't yet.
Impatient towards guests? Or
It doesn't
some
seem-
other exterior thing?
It doesn't seem to be towards anything that's currently happening here, but
Okay.
something that's
So it is
happening elsewhere in the manor.
How far is Juliet?
The table itself is about 20 feet in length. So from you guys, she'd be maybe 15 feet.
Okay. Yeah. Never mind.
You do notice, all of you, the seating arrangement seems to be the people who have more connection with him, and the further from his end of the table either the least connection or the most strenuous of relationships.
And where exactly are we placed?
You guys are placed closer to where Nathan is. You're in about the first 5 feet of the table, whereas very obviously Juliet is the very last person at the table.
Okay, and I'm guessing with Rhea knowing like kind of a lot of just political gossip, she would kind of do you think she could catch on like with that, or do you want me to roll like a perception or an investigation on that?
Roll a history check.
Ooh, I like it. It's my favorite kind of check. All right. No, I don't want to use claw attack.
What's your
Use
passive
claw
insight?
attack.
I have +8 in history. That is an
Ryan,
11.
what's your passive insight?
Huh?
What's your passive insight?
My passive insight is a 17.
If it helps, Juliet did say when she saw you last, you seem to be better than when she saw you last. She doesn't seem to have been saying that in a flattering way. She seems to have meant it quite literally.
Okay. All right. I will say with that history check, that is a 11 plus 8 for a 19.
Okay. It's not bad. You remember certain stories or events that were publicized or you were told by people that you know in your gossip chain about things that have gone down or things that have happened between them and Nathan or part of Nathan's people, his network. Most of the people at the front of the table, yourself and Ethan included, have for the most part, very positive relationship and interactions with Nathan. Maybe a couple of pockmarks here and there, but net positive for the most part. And the further down the table you get, you remember hearing a story of a trade going bad and Nathan losing supplies or losing people or influence in certain parts of the world because of the hearsay of somebody that you know it wasn't true, but because of the influence of whoever it was, that person sitting at the table, it affected the reach and influence that Nathan had. Or an accidental killing of a member of his network that wasn't ever able to fully be forgiven. Little things like that, just things that some of them are small, some are more major, but you're not sure. The last 6 to 7 people on the table, why they're where they're sitting. They're the 7 there. You don't know the history between them and Nathan. Juliet being one of them.
All right. Upon she's gonna kind of like pocket that and keep that in mind as she goes and waves down one of the servants and orders herself a glass of very dry red wine. And once it's been brought to her, she'll take a very long sip and just kind of lean back. Again, just going along each face on the table. Again, just kind of tucking away and being like, okay, so this person did this, and making this connection as she just kind of like twirls her glass and goes, interesting. And she's just going to kind of keep to herself for the most part, some casual talk and conversation with Mr. Moonshare, and wait for our host to arrive.
It's quite some time more. People have finished their plates, and the next course is brought out, which is the choice between a very exotic looking steak of some kind, very fragrant in aroma, very caramelized surface. It looks like it's been very well done with a side of potatoes on it. The other seems to be almost still a salad of types. At least that's what it looks like. But to those who are watching, to anyone who has picked that meal, as they dig into it, it's less of a salad than it is this very interesting plant that has more of a meat kind of quality to it. It is still vegetation, but has the smell when cut into of a meat. So it seems to almost be the very vegetarian variety of whatever is being presented, both of which have a Feywild inspiration to their making.
Yeah.
Juliet is absolutely going for the steak, and she will enjoy it.
Yeah, Ethan will also take the steak.
Just out of curiosity, who's on either side of me? What kind
To
of
your right and your left?
Mm-hmm.
So to your right, you notice a very plain in presentation, still elegant and quality of dress, but very simple in their presentation. This female presenting individual, quite short in stature, seems to be half-elf in lineage. You're not quite sure who she is, but she does look to be simpler in presentation. Nothing outwardly would tip you off as to who she is or what she might be part of or why she's here. To your left is a masculine presenting individual, seems to be a half-orc in nature, dresses a little more similarly to you in that he looks nautical. He's wearing what looks to be a general's, a captain's uniform. Still simple in presentation because it's not such like dining with the king and queen of the land, if you will, but still very regal in his presentation.
Is his navy uniform recognizable at all?
What kind of role do I want for this? Give me an investigation or history check.
Sure, I'll give you a history. It's a dirty 20. 12 plus 8.
Okay. He seems to be from a different continent. A lot of the design elements of his uniform nod towards one of the other countries that has heavy imports and exports to this continent in particular. High ranking, very much kind of blue-green in general colorage with rose gold accents. He's got one or two little pins that seem to either be awards or badges that he's earned in his time in service.
Juliet just makes small talk with him, inquiring about the trade of his continent. What's the weather like? How fares travel? What ships do you use? That sort of thing. Just picking interest in what stories he might bring to the table.
He talks a lot about, and from conversation you get, he's probably part of whatever ruling system governs his country, because I'm not going to try to make that and change the lore of Chris's world on whatever the governing body of
When you say is canon, let's go with that.
whatever governing body rules his country, his continent, he runs a lot of their export and imports. Not a huge battleman, but has had a couple of rough and tumbles on his hand. Comments about the weather throughout the year, what seasons are harsher to travel in than others, which ones they are not able to travel due to freezing over of the water or dangerous storms and monsoons of kinds. seems to deal mostly in textiles and jewelry. A couple of very exotic styles of fruits, but it doesn't seem to be any like normal exports, which is why he handles them personally.
Fascinating. Genuinely intrigued. And then she makes small talk with the plain old woman, sort of inquiring, what's your story? What brings you here? How do you find these people?
She seems to be reluctant to carry conversation with you, almost skittish in her manner. She does dignify you with responses to questions, but is very vague about anything that she does. She tells you that she works in information finding for a library, doesn't tell you the name of the library, doesn't tell you exactly what kind of information she handles in.
Shy types are charming in their own way, though. That's what she's doing.
Is there anything else anybody is doing in the meantime?
Just other than getting a read of the table, is there anyone that is kind of talking amongst themselves, perhaps in a different language?
You do notice a pair of individuals who are talking in, it seems to be one of the more harsher languages, akin to Infernal or Abyssal, but not quite either of those. But
Okay.
you're not quite sure what they're saying. It's in kind of not hushed tones, not whispers, but they are definitely keeping to themselves.
Okay. Might I make a perception check to see what they might be talking about?
I would say it's more of an investigation since you don't speak the language.
Tongue of Sun and Moon, you understand all spoken languages and creature
right.
that can understand.
Then go ahead and give
what
me
you
a
say.
perception check.
Okay.
That is cool as fuck.
Level 20, baby.
Then plus was perception. Perception is plus 17. So 28.
Jesus Christ. As you tune in to what they're saying, trying to block out everything else, you notice in their hushed tones, they're theorizing why the people who are here. Why hasn't Nathan made an appearance? What's going on? Why hasn't anyone been told anything? Just that kind of minor paranoia in a situation that is unclear.
How close are they?
They're about 5 feet down the table from you.
I will just kind of lean forward and try to get their attention as much as possible. And let's see, any creature that can understand the language can understand what you say. So as I lean over, I use the tongue of the sun and moon, and I just say in the language that they're speaking, it is best in these situations, especially with Nathan, to have patience. It is rewarded usually.
They seem a little bit startled, you speaking in their tongue. And one of them just kind of almost embarrassed will respond, yes, I know, but you'd think you would have arrived by now.
You will think so, of course, but if you've noticed, nothing is here that doesn't need to be. Therefore, our host does not do what they don't need to. I'm sure it's very important. I am anxious as well, Because I do not know, and I usually do. So perhaps we can be anxious together. And he kind of raises a cup.
They'll both raise with you and take drinks, almost trying to settle nerves.
Mm-hmm.
As more time passes and dessert is presented, it seems to be the option between this almost red velvet cheesecake or almost akin to an ice cream, but you've never smelled this kind of thing before. Again, both having hints to Feywild inspirations.
Ice cream, please.
That was
Ice cream.
So you said it's kind of like ice cream?
So there's one that's very similar in composition and make as ice cream, but the smell coming from it is nothing like any ice cream flavor you've smelled before. It's almost sour in its presentation, but not in an unpleasant way.
Okay, so Rhea is going to take both of her hands and cup the plate or the bowl up underneath. She's going to lift it up to her mouth and just go.
Yeah.
And again, we'll be purring the whole entire time as she is doing so.
Perhaps that aerates it a little bit more, and Ethan will go.
Amazing. Amazing.
Rhea she kind of she just chuckles and she kind of pulls the bowl away from her face a little bit, and she goes, and she just she calms down. I know I do look a bit silly, but I honestly I can't help it. It's
Anybody who says anything about it can leave.
Get out now. No. He goes, actually, it actually brings the aromas up into the nasal cavity a lot more, and it actually intensifies the flavor. So, thank you.
Well, it is my pleasure. The reason I usually prefer to eat it like this is it makes it feel like the magic is burrowing through my brain.
I haven't gotten there yet.
just even and Rhea just
Across the table region.
Julia is
amazing.
you two from across the table. She is so amused. No judgment whatsoever, just delight.
Listen, amazing story choice. And you watch as Cheyenne comes back into the room and has a small, almost tense conversation with Alphonse before Alphonse leaves the room. Some minutes go by. You notice the energy in here is shifting to unease as your host has not shown up yet, and nobody knows what's going on or what to do about it. You hear... Give me perception checks, actually.
Rolly, rolly, rolly. That is
24.
a natural 20 plus I think it's
26.
So 27, natural 20 for 27.
So all of you tuning in... Jesus Christ. All of you tuning your senses into whatever might be happening outside of this room are able to pick up on raised voices. What you're assuming is in the second story, but in a room that's relatively close to this one. You can't quite make out what they're saying, but it seems to be just a very stern voice giving some kind of an order, a command, and then someone refuting it or trying to change the mind of the first speaker, both of them masculine voices, before there's a bit more fighting, and then a loud smack. And then it's quiet.
Rhea's ears, you kind of hear a bell jingle as Rhea's ears immediately twitch in that direction. And she kind of She doesn't look up from her. I think I would say the little ice cream dish is probably like nothing but like a little
It's
puddle.
one of the ones with the little like stem on it that almost looks like it should be a wine glass, but it's way rounder and bigger in volume than a wine glass is.
So I'd say she'd probably be like down to the bottom. It's probably mostly melted at this point, but she's still just. And she kind of pulls her head away from her glass, licks the last of the milk off of her the cream off of her whiskers, and she kind of raises a brow as she turns and looks at Ethan. She goes,
I know I'm not the only one who heard that.
Of course not. Very good hearing.
she's going to kind of glance over at Juliet to see if she took notice of it as well.
Her eyes are on that door.
All right. Rhea's going to kind of put the glass down. She will kind of seem a little bit like she wouldn't seem irritated at this point. She would more seem like concerned because even though like Knifin like can sometimes like be late to certain things, this usually isn't like the case. He's usually very strict about his schedules and sort of things, and this just seems almost out of character for him. And especially with this being the first grand event that he's throwing at his house. And she kind of just looks back over at Ethan and goes,
I really hope something is okay here. That did not sound very pleasant.
Is it incredibly rude for a guest to check in on their host?
Well, if there's any sort of commotion, we would want to make sure our old friend is okay, do we not?
Of course. But my question is, would his entourage not take care of it? And he looks around. Are any of his like right-hand people still in the room?
Alphonse had Cheyenne had re-entered the room, talked with Alphonse, and Alphonse left. But Cheyenne, Elevar, and Farrell are all still in the room.
Well, I'm not sure if they'd be able to help if they are indeed the cause of the problem.
Very true. One thing. I would like to cast Pass Without a Trace.
Okay.
there would be no need to cast Pass Without a Trace because Rhea is going to kind of, as like a waiter, kind of, she's going to kind of stand up for a moment, and as a waiter walks past her, tending to a guest near them, kind of distorting the image of her, she is going to cast invisibility on herself.
As you do that, Alphonse re-enters the room and just bows lightly to everybody. Unfortunately, our host will not be able to make it for dinner, so as you finish, you are free to re-enter the foyer. Our band will start playing some more waltz-type music. Feel free to dance, and hopefully he will be able to join us when he is ready. And Alphonse grabs Elevar, and they both leave the room.
Is there a section, as like making my way out as inconspicuously as possible, is there a spot of dim light anywhere available?
Absolutely. All of the interior lighting here is lit by candelabras, and they're not always lighting the best for people who don't have dark vision or aren't able to see well in the dark. It is notoriously known that Nithin tends to stay in areas of lesser light, so this is very normal for him, but there are definitely places that you can find that are darker lit.
Then I would also like to cast invisibility as I pass behind one of the columns.
We're so smooth, you guys. Look at us, like 007.
Both of you make stealth checks for me at disadvantage.
Ooh, interesting.
Ooh.
I have no, I don't have advantage. That's sleight of hand. Dang it.
Even with invisibility?
Even with
Interesting.
ability.
And interesting.
Disadvantage. Ooh.
That is only a 12? My soft little paws are not doing so well.
The 33.
Jesus Christ!
Okay. So, as both of you exit the dining hall, and I'm assuming you're moving to follow Alphonse and Elvar,
Mm-hmm.
as you follow them through the hallways back into the foyer, you hear the band has expanded to be almost a mini orchestra as they're playing more dance-style music, and people are filtering back out, carrying on with conversation, feeling a little less anxious now that they're out and able to do things again, and just try to forget that their host has yet to make an appearance. Alphonse and Elivar go up the staircase and go left rather than right, down one of the hallways. Ethan, you go unnoticed as you're trailing behind, finding places to avoid people and duck behind things as needed, even in your invisibility. You go unnoticed. Rhea, even as you were given a tour of the area, as you're invisible and trying to follow behind, you both have cleared the main entryways, have gotten to the top of the staircase, and are following. What you haven't noticed is that while everything here on the base floor that you were given a tour of is meant to be for other people, for entertainment purposes, this second floor is not built the same way. And you failed to notice that as you're trying to stick to the walls to keep hidden and to keep quiet, there are little imperceivable needles following the wall line that you accidentally step on. And you're able to, for the most part, muffle any noise out of pain and shock of this happening. But just enough gets through that Elivar stops and turns her head, noticing a sound.
Even upon stepping on those needles, she will not move. She will literally just immediately hand over her mouth, like aside, like she will not move from the spot, even if it's just the pain of the needles coming in. She just pretty much hand over her mouth, staying completely, utterly still. And she is going, while using give me a minute. Let me see. Is there anything like is there any like waitresses or servants or anything around?
Up on this second floor, there is nobody but you two and Alphonse and Elivar.
Okay. So I think on that note, she is going to kind of just take a small golden coin from her pocket and roll it around in her gloved hand for a moment before she... fuck. So with invisibility and how it works, Does the object stay like invisible?
Anything on your person or that you're carrying is invisible alongside you.
What if I were to throw it?
As soon as it leaves contact with your body, it reappears.
Fuck. Fuck nuggets. She is just going to stand there and not move at all, and just
Do
literally.
Oh, I don't see her, do I?
No, but you do notice that Elevar has fully turned around now, and her eyes are glowing slightly. You can't tell what exactly it is, but she seems to be looking behind you. And Rhea, you can tell she's looking almost exactly at you. Not like in your eyes, but where your general personage is.
God, that makes me fucking nervous. Rhea is just going to stay still, not move a fucking muscle. She's not even breathing at this point. She is holding her breath and is going to just hopefully they just take it up as the house creaking.
I would now. Let's see. Shoot. Are we close or relative in the direction of the room that we heard shouting? Like, are we headed in that direction?
You are.
Shoot.
You do see Alphonse at this point, not having heard anything, has stopped at a door with his hand on the handle and has turned back to where Elevar is, curious as to what's going on.
I would like to, from a hidden area, if possible, to cast Minor Illusion. Create a sound or image of an object within range, lasts the duration.
What are you going to do?
What was the sound that Elevar heard?
It was... You heard it as well because you're closer to Rhea than Elevar was, but it was this muffled whimper. Kind of that, yeah.
Yeah. Small cat that kind of walks in the opposite direction.
Nathan's a cat person, right?
Sure.
As this cat appears and mews as it's walking the other way back down the staircase, you watch Elevar watch after it curiously before glancing back over at where she'd previously been watching. Her head tilts back to where Alphonse is. She doesn't say anything, but there's clearly an exchange of information as she walks backwards to stand at the door as Alphonse goes in.
How tall are the ceilings here?
Oh!
That's a good question.
It is a good question. It appears in the main foyer area, they were about 20 feet tall, but as you go into other areas of the first floor, they're only about 10.
While those two were sneaking off, Juliet remained at the table, and then under the table cast Find Familiar, and in her hands coils a black-scaled, almost luminescent flying snake that slithers from her grasp under the table towards the exit they had pursued, and once it reaches just past that table, it's going to fly up and try to stay by the ceiling, just following.
Okay. Roll a stealth check for me, just to see how well your familiar stays hidden.
And she is looking through its eyes. Please hold.
Hold.
19 plus 4. That's a 23.
Okay.
It's not as good as me, but it's good.
Okay. It seems to slither away and keep out of sight of most of the other guests and patronages here as it follows. You do notice as the snake leaves the main area and goes towards the foyer that Farrell is also now headed up the main staircase.
Who was that again?
He was the man who came down the staircase with a very broad, arrogant manner.
Good to know. So the way this is happening is because Juliet, as herself, is now blinded to what's going on around her. She took a position almost like at the table, head resting on her chin, directly towards the dance floor. Glazed look, but appears as if she is watching the dancers float about the dance floor.
Understood. Farrell comes up the left side and seems to walk down the main hallway, not noticing anything amiss. Has a brief, quiet conversation, exchanging of words with Elevar as he takes up her post outside the door and she goes in.
How much of an opening or opportunity is there to see inside the room when they open the door?
If you're closer, if you want to move closer to the door to be able to try to see, as there's that exchange of post and Elevar's doing one last look before she goes in, roll me another stealth check. Straight stealth this time.
Just straight? Okay.
Just straight.
Okay, that could have been better, but we'll take it. It's a 29.
You seem to go unnoticed. And as she walks in, she doesn't fully open the door, very much only opening it as far as she needs to get in. This seems to be more of a proper study from what you can see. There's a bookshelf lining the wall, and there seems to be, you can see the corner of a desk through the door.
Okay. Do I see any sort of shadows inside?
This room does have quite a bit darker lighting. It is not as well lit as most of the other areas you've been thus far. Not necessarily shadow, but lower lighting.
Okay. So I was wanting to use Shadow Step, but if there's not a shadow to teleport to, then that will not work. Okay. Let's see.
I will say, Elevar does cast a shadow as she walks inside. If you want to try to teleport through her shadow, I will let you. But I'm going to need you to just give me a dexterity check.
So I see the proper study. That's
Mhm.
about all. Okay. Darn. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to do it, because in his personality traits, there's some stuff that I need to abide by. So doesn't look at the risks. Never tell me the odds. The odds are okay. Just dexterity, straight.
It's a straight dex check.
Okay. It's 18 plus 3, so 21.
Okay. Need to stop dropping my dice. What did you say the total was?
21.
Okay. As the door opens and Elvar walks in, you see the briefest opportunity to use her shadow being cast against the inside wall to make that teleportation before the door closes once again. And you just make it. So you're able to appear from her shadow, still invisible. And it is a darker lit room. It is still relatively well lit, but more of a dark, almost dark tavern ambiance here. Low lighting that seems to be these almost a dark blue flame that lights this room in the candelabras that line the walls. There's that bookshelf that's from floor to ceiling with a desk in front of it, a very well-kept chair sitting behind it. Elevar and Alphonse stand in front of this desk, obscuring the figure that is sitting in the chair. There's be 3 chairs further set from the desk, and behind it, a couple of tables that look to be almost like this is a multi-purpose room as a study or a meeting room.
Okay. I think I've got like an hour. Okay.
With the hallway now empty, I think Rhea is just gonna slowly make her way over to like the side of the door and attempt to do her best to hear through the walls to see if she's able to hear any commotion or any conversation.
Snake is doing the same thing, but from the top of the door where there might be like slides crack.
Cat in the danger noodle.
Yeah, so what's going on in this room? They got Elevar and Alphonse obstructing a person in a chair. Do they seem restrained at all, or
No, they're just standing there almost at attention. And it's very quiet for a while before anybody in here speaks. And the figure sitting in the chair, you just hear him say, "He hasn't arrived. It troubles me. I just needed the one more. Why is he not here?" And Alphonse speaks up and says, "We aren't sure, Lord. He was sent the invitation, and we were told that he was coming. But he is not."
aside from the door that I came in, are there any other ways out of here?
This is an internal room. There's one door in, one door out. There's no windows. It is entirely closed off.
Okay, is there a keyhole?
There is not.
Where's not? Cool.
Trying to think of because one Rhea doesn't even know that Ethan is in there because we're both invisible. Wait, great. I had fucking see invisibility, and I totally could have actually been able to see Ethan.
You wouldn't have known to use it. So as Alphonse exchanges this information, the figure in the chair just sighs. And we'll have to go without him then. I'm sure we can exchange the message in a different way for him. A little more personal. Gather everybody up, ready the final preparations, and I will make my way down. Alphonse nods and moves to leave the room. Elevar still there. Once Alphonse has left the room and the door has been closed again, you can now see the figure sitting in the chair. It is, in fact, Nathan von Dryal. In a very simple, considering most of his appearances in public, a very simple shirt with a lightweight blue, dark navy blue with silver accents, suit coat over top of it, no tie, very relaxed considering he's normally very collected and very exact in his presentation. He looks towards Elevar. You know what to do? Watch for my signal. That is all. And Elevar goes to leave.
There be a possibility to slip out? So it's just him in the room now?
Elevar's going to exit the room, but has not quite gotten there yet. So if you want to try to slip out while she's leaving, there's a possibility.
Yeah.
Make me an acrobatics check.
Acrobatics. Oh, man. Okay, that is an 18. 13 plus 5.
That is just enough. You are able to, as she opens the door, she opens it a little wider this time to allow herself a little more room to exit. And you find just the right spot to slip through just before she closes the door. And as it clicks shut, you hear rummaging from inside the room.
As the door closes and I kind of like scooch around, I would like to teleport 30 feet down the hallway and make it look like I am walking towards that door and like I'm just seeing Elevar leave the office.
Sure. As it looks like you're walking that direction, Farrell is still stationed outside the door, and as Elevar comes out, they both spot you and look very confused as Elevar just kind of puts a hand on Farrell's shoulder and walks up to you. You're not supposed to be here.
Oh, my apologies. I am very sorry. Many of your guests are whispering and things like that. Not trying to get anyone in trouble, of course. But the assumption is that there is something amiss, that there is something wrong, something that perhaps has upset our host, so as he would not join us. And I was wondering if this would make things any better. And he pulls out the bottle of wine from earlier that he talked to Alphonse about, but not Elevar. Just, I don't have to give it to him. He doesn't have to know who it's from. Just here. And he hands it to Elevar. Just something he will know.
He will appreciate this, I'm sure. And
Yes, of course.
will kind of wave for you to rejoin downstairs everybody else as she turns to give the bottle to Pharrell, as she also is heading downstairs.
Do I notice the familiar?
Roll a perception check.
I will say, while
perception is
Ethan,
27 if you want to use that, but I will roll.
while Ethan is talking to them, that Rhea will take that moment to kind of slip away, past them to go back to the dining hall, and kind of in the similar manner as Ethan, as she passes a column, she will drop invisibility and return to the table, and just kind of brush herself off as she is. Was she able to hear through the wall what was being said?
You could hear bits and pieces. It was very muffled, and it almost seems like there is... You're not sure if it's some kind of magic or just how this room in particular was constructed to purposely make it hard to eavesdrop in. So you could hear bits and pieces, but nothing consecutively that would make sense.
Okay. Like, are there any particular keywords that she maybe could have heard that would have maybe have been like, oh shit?
You heard mention of isn't here. Supposed to come. And then a different voice that said was supposed to. Don't know. Before Alphonse walked out. And then you couldn't quite hear what the masculine voice was saying, and then the feminine voice just saying yes before Elevar walked out.
Okay. All right. She kind of is going to sit at the table, not quite sure like if he is not here, is he talking about particular guests, or are they talking about Knife in themselves? And she's more just kind of wondering, like, is Knife in any sort of trouble? And she's going to order herself another glass of red wine and kind of sit and ponder on it, and going to wait for Ethan to return to see if he has gotten any results himself.
As someone who
Go ahead.
Sorry, as someone who's sitting at the end of the table and technically had full view of both sides, did it seem like there was a seat empty?
You did notice there was one chair that nobody was sitting at.
There we go.
You
If-
rolled a
Who is this?
27 for the familiar's stealth, right?
No, that was probably one of my own rolls from previous. I haven't rolled for the familiar. I don't need to because it can only roll as high as 24 on a natural 20. So I can say if a snake
Got it.
could stick out its tongue sort of like flicks out before it disappears into a pocket dimension as I dismiss it. And Juliet comes back to herself, sort of slightly staring back to attention in the dance floor.
Snake is like, and then just
At that point, I think Ethan would be coming back in and see Raya and Juliet sitting at the table and have a seat as well. Kind of fixes his hair a little bit. One hair out of place.
As you all reconvene and are watching the band play and people dancing, From down the left side of the staircase, a figure emerges. Still that very simple white shirt with the dark blue suit coat. Hands clasped behind his back, Nathan stops on the platform where the two stairs converge as he clears his voice to the room. His very, like I said, no appearance can be hidden here. So his form is as he is. Pure red eyes, this deep red color, but still bright enough for you to tell what color they are, as black runs across his eyes and up the sides of his face, where they meet with small horns that wrap gracefully down his head. Fangs adorning his lips, with black tinting the inside of his lips. A tattoo peeking out from the open part of his shirt as he addresses the collection of people. I apologize for my absence. The festivities are not quite over yet. There is still more dancing to be had, conversations to be discussed. But after that, I'm afraid our time here is up. And he, with that, joins into the crowd. And with that, we're going to take a short 5-minute break. We'll see you all in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody. Is this where I do announcements of the rest of the schedule? Is that how this works?
That's how that works.
Here on To Be Diced, we have other games that we play. The next one, I think, will be Tuesday, which is Edge of the Empire, DM'd by Daddy Tarzan 82855. It is Star Wars in TTRPG. That's all I know about that campaign. And then following the next day, Wednesday, all of these start at 8 Mountain Standard Time, I believe.
Close to that, yeah. Usually if we can, yeah.
Within that time frame. Wednesday is Dimensional Dial of Dr. Diago, where you see me and Taylor over yonder play as two of the party members. I play the literal child of the campaign, and I am nothing but sweet all the time.
And Dia is currently guesting in
Dia's
this
a guest!
dimension.
What?
I can make next week because I'm working. I'm going to try to get a slot for Colin's sake.
Colin's sake.
I want to play.
And then on Thursday, hopefully, we'll be back to your regularly scheduled Tales of Vardin. If not, who knows? Maybe we'll have another one shot. We'll find out.
We still have to finish stuff. Yeah, there's a High Seas one shot that could be run. Who knows? We'll see.
Totally go for a part 2 of that one shot.
I didn't get to finish that one shot. It's fine.
You got to come back and we'll finish it.
Every time I play Rogue in Vardin, it always gets cut short because of something.
That sucks.
I swapped next week specifically so I could play in next week's Vardin game, whatever that might be, just so you know.
Nice.
Let's go.
And then, so far, next week on Sunday, there should be Frontiers of Eberron. I had to think for a second what that campaign was called. Which is DM'd. It will be Easter Sunday, which is DM'd by Michael St. Gregory, who isn't actually seen here very often anymore, but he is the DM of that campaign. Mm-hmm. I'm going to throw a shout out if I can. I don't play in that campaign, but also on Sundays, Sunday mornings of that week, I will be playing as everybody's favorite ferret circus entertainer, Duke, in Of Brass and Briar on Of Lichen and Moss on Twitch, if you want to check that out at any point in time. I think that's everything. Do we have any other announcements? That's it. Then we're going to jump right back in, and it's not going to go where all of you were expecting it to. As Nathan walks to join the crowd, and all three of you are sitting at the table watching from a distance, everything shifts. All of the very bright, warm lighting around you, the joyous sounds, and everything seems to fade away. Everything goes black and quiet. You find yourselves missing any sense of where you are or what is going on. And it stays this way for a little while before slowly your senses come back to you. And you find the three of you, and only the three of you, in this room. There doesn't seem to be doors here. There are 6 walls, and these walls are covered entirely by these large, dark silver curtains that seem, you can pull them open, but as of right now, they are closed. There is no visible lighting or things to provide light here, but you can still see. It is as if there is something providing light, but you can't see where it's coming from. Almost omnidirectional.
What the heck just happened? Is there... Sorry, go ahead.
It's just master storyteller.
What
It's
did
just-
you say?
It's just us three. No
It
Nathan.
is just the three of you.
Just the three of us.
And it's just a corridor. You said?
It's a closed room with 6 walls and dark silver curtains hanging over them.
How big is this room?
It's about 60 feet by 60 feet. But there is nothing in here.
Not even like a little couch we can sit on?
There's nothing in here.
Damn it. Okay. Can I make like an arcana check to see if there's like any sort of like magic or like any essence of magic around or anything like that? I don't have detect magic, but
Go ahead and give me an arcana check.
it's a 16 plus 2 for a 17 or 18.
Nothing here gives you any particular inkling of being arcane in nature. I mean, there's not a whole ton in here outside of 6 walls and the curtains that dress them. But you do find it curious that you can't see the walls themselves, given how these curtains have been draped.
Rhea, I think, will silently walk over and she is going to just take a gloved hand and try to gently move the curtain.
Roll a d6 for me.
Yay. That will be a 3.
As you slowly move part of this curtain aside, you can see that the wall behind it has been carved. You can only see bits and pieces of where or some kind of imagery has been chiseled into the stone behind the curtain.
She is going to continue to draw the curtain to reveal more of whatever this picture may be or this carving.
As you expose more of the wall and are able to see more of this imagery clearly, it seems to depict 2 different scenes that kind of blur into each other. It is of an elven man who is dressed not of the most regal attire, but looks like he's trying his best to do so, who is holding, cupping in hands the hand of an elven woman who looks to be high in station, and they look to be man and wife. And that bleeds into an image of this man cradling the woman in his arms as she is clearly dying. And under the image is inscribed, "A fairy tale becomes a tragedy."
Does Rhea recognize this as Knifen, this elven individual?
There's little bits of it that looks like maybe it could be, but the presentation and the way it's a very detailed image. A lot of the facial structure is very, very similar and akin to his, but all of the features on him current day that would signify it as him are not present.
You said there's 6 walls in here, and how many curtains? 1 for each wall?
Yes.
Seeing Rhea kind of uncover this, look at all the other ones, and just think to himself, there's nothing else in here. So he's going to pull another one and look behind it.
Which one are you pulling?
The one next to hers.
On the left or the right?
The right.
So you draw open this curtain and you see, once again, one image bleeding into the next, which seems to be the elven man as depicted in the image before, training in crafty handwork, that of what you would assume would be an assassin of some kind, in not exactly military ranks, but something akin to it, that bleeds into a scene of him being tortured and him dying, but being brought back to life in vampiric nature. And this is where you start to see his features change. You start to see, whereas before there was a lot of the same basic facial structure of Nathan, but none of the traditional markings that you know him to have today. Some of the lines of black that are signifying to what he looks like are present around his eyes and are slowly drifting to the side of his face, and he no longer is etched with pupils. And underneath of it is inscribed, "From tragedy comes horror."
Juliet has remained standing in the center of the room so she can get a full picture of the walls as they're being revealed. And she just says, "Funny how the wheel turns this way. More often than not. Story of his life, is that what being presented to us?" Mostly her eyes are actually lingering towards the first walls that were revealed, in which the man seems to be holding his dying wife. And she just looks entirely sympathetic. And she's slowly rubbing one of multiple rings on her left hand. Did anything else in the room shift as the curtains were being moved? Was there a light click or anything?
Nothing.
If we were to press against the walls that are revealed, do they seem to move at all?
Not as far as you can tell. It seems to just be this room.
If it is indeed the story of our host's life, I would very much like to know what happens before all of this. And he walks over to the other one to the left of where Raya started.
As you pull it open, you see, once again, this previous markingless version of the elven man, almost in courtship with the elven woman depicted in the carving ahead of it. And underneath is inscribed, "From nothing can come everything."
Why is he showing us all of this?
I'm not sure. It is perhaps to gain some sort of sympathy or favor with us before asking us something difficult.
I do not believe that Nathan would do something like that. There has to be. He is not one to seek sympathy. Perhaps understanding?
Understanding for what?
A
Maybe.
puzzle, perhaps. A game for him, perhaps.
As you say, a game perhaps. Sourcelessly, you hear Nathan's voice echoing across the chamber. A game this is, but one you will not win, as he goes quiet.
Well, that was a bit unnerving.
Have all the other curtains been drawn?
You have exposed 3 curtains.
Rhea will go to another one and draw.
Do you want to go to the one left of the one that Ethan just drew, or right of the wall that's already been exposed?
Let's go to the one next to the one that Ethan just drew.
All right. You pull it open, and it seems to be this elven figure in younger years, almost teenager or young adult. Very bright, happy, high spirits. Very clearly no status. Base of base civilian, with faintly etched in what seems to be the background, a little farm cottage and a family. And below is etched the beginning of a journey.
That is so sad. Rhea will just kind of, as these curtains are being drawn back, she is more kind of understanding Knifen more and more, especially considering the conflicts that they've had and as to why Knifen is the way that he is when it comes to the kind of shit that Rhea pulls. And she almost like has like a very relaxed sort of expression of, again, just understanding. It's not really sympathy, but just, again, more understanding. That's the best way I'm going to put it. I'm going to ramble. And
Did
she's
you
going,
move to another curtain? I will just, in order, 5 and 6 are pulled open. 5 after the one depicting the training into the torture and rebirth, you could say, of the figure depicted. The markings starting to appear. The next one depicts almost a beginning in politics. The conversing with people of high station, and opposed to it, almost reflected in imagery, is the conversing with people of no station. Those who work in the darker network, the seedier side of everything. And underneath is inscribed, "The world can be changed for the good by the bad." And the last curtain is pulled, and you see Nathan as his current state depicted, sitting in Not a throne, it's a very simple chair. But very clearly in the background, in split imagery, the trees and visage of places in the Feywild, and then the buildings and cities of the material plane, and him sitting betwixt the two. And underneath is inscribed, "A better world can be made, but not by those who aren't willing to do what it takes."
Rhea kind of just smirks reading that last little quote and running her hand or her paws over that last sentence.
What's everyone's passive perception?
24.
27.
17.
So Ethan and Juliet, not directly, but in the edges of your vision, you see movement in this darkly lit interior, almost like a shadow buzzing through the periphery. Nothing that you can quite catch, even as you look for it directly. You can't ever get a bead on what this is or what it's doing. And from around you, omnipresent, floating across the room and echoing sourcelessly again, you hear Nathan speak. "I've lived many of your lifetimes, survived more than you could dream of, and yet, despite my kindness and my grace and time, some things cannot be forgiven. Sometimes a lesson must be learned. And a lesson you will learn." And the floor disappears from under you, and all of you fall into a void. You don't feel as though you're falling, which is the curious thing, because visually you can tell you are, but it doesn't feel that way. And when you stop and hit a floor, it doesn't feel like you're hitting a floor. It just feels like everything has shifted perspective around you. You are now in a four-walled room, 180 feet by 180 feet. 2 columns standing wide in front of you with an arch over top of it. And slowly across the room, orange torches flicker on, illuminating everything in here. On the archway is inscribed, 8 rulers rule the land. They bicker and fight over their borders. Only when they are kept apart can the kingdom live in peace. And as the torches illuminate everything clearer, past this archway and up a set of stairs is a giant chessboard with 2 pieces, queens, already placed. There are 2 other queens sitting off the side of the board, looking like they're waiting to be set in place. Each queen, as you look at them, are carved out of a very delicate white marble stone, each carved differently, still very evidently queens, but different at the same time. You hear Nathan's voice echo. "A game you will play. A game for your lives. Place each piece, including yourselves, 8 in total, on the board, in a manner in which no other piece can take each other. You have 10 minutes. I wish you luck."
I don't play chess. Fuck.
I do. Let me see the board.
So, let me do this real fast so I can show you guys what you're working with.
Do we have an Albert thingy?
Hold on. No, I just have a normal map.
Okay.
because I don't know how to work Owlbear, and Matt wasn't able to help me in time.
Okay.
Dude. Give me 5 seconds to pull it up.
1, 2,
I'm gonna
3,
murder you.
4. Matt does it to me all the time. I'm like, give me 1 second. He's like, 1 second. I'm like, shut up.
1 Mississippi.
Yep. It's only fair, I suppose.
This
Hey,
is what you're
there we go.
viewing.
Excuse me.
I will tell you the 2 queens that are already placed. The first one, are you able to see my mouse?
Yes.
Yep.
Thing?
I've just
First
made this
one-
whole thing full screen.
Is here.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is here.
Mm-hmm.
From what you've gathered, you must place yourselves and the 2 other queen pieces on the board in a way that they cannot attack each other. For this, all of you mechanically work as a queen piece in chess.
Okay.
So our
How many
queens, are they
moves do we have?
They can go straight, diagonal,
You don't know.
and all the way across the board.
So they can move functionally as anything outside of a knight.
Oh, thank you for drawing that. I was like holding my fingers to the screen.
I was like, wait, I can do this. So those are where the 2 queen pieces are already placed.
Okay.
You have been given 10 minutes. And as Nathan's voice fades away, you hear a ticking.
Oh god. Taking
So
my
we are going to run this similar to combat, in which I'm going to have each of you roll initiative.
See, I could do this if I knew how many moves we had before we had to check.
You're going to have to find out by trial and error.
24. It's a 24.
Of course, that's what I roll.
the ominous Jeopardy music in the background. Scary.
Listen,
I
I
don't know.
found this audio and I'm like, it's perfect.
I don't like how we have this one tile that should be black. It's not black. Can you color that in black? That one right there, please.
Hold on.
Thank you. Messing with my calculations. Thank you.
It's not going to be great because I don't have a mouse. That's what you
It's
get.
okay. That's fine.
And I know exactly where everything needs to be placed. All right, Juliet, as you're looking across this board, taking in the positions of the pieces already, you have to place the 3 of you and 3 other queen pieces to make 8 total.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do?
I will ask, as Juliet is someone who would have been taught how to play dragon chess, is she able to make a roll to see what might be like a strategy to sort of guide the way, if that makes sense? Just sort of getting a gist of, oh, maybe this setup could work.
Make a... What check do I want this to be? Make a straight intelligence check.
Sure. Big money, please. No, that is only a 5 if it's straight intelligence.
Looking over this board and the 2 pieces that have already been placed and the instructions that you've already been given, outside of the main objective that you've been told, you're not quite sure what strategy should be played here. It's a chessboard, so all of the functions work the same. All the moves are the same for a queen piece. But you're not sure what might happen if you place something incorrectly.
Okay. Juliet is going to consider her moves and just see what will happen if she places these pieces as if they had one move to make to check. The queen at the top can only go directly if making one move to the right, down, or diagonal from it. The queen at the bottom can only move directly upwards, directly to the left, directly to the side, or diagonally from it. Therefore, in one move, she's going to place her first piece on first row, 1, 2, 3, fourth square, black tile up. She's placing one queen there.
These are life-size pieces, so you are not able to move them yourselves, but as you talk out loud, if you will, and say, that's where I need a piece to go, one of the queens moves of its own accord to sit in that spot. And what you hadn't noticed before is the two queens that are already placed, their tiles have sunken and are set in place. As that queen takes its position, it sinks and sets. Nothing happens.
That's fine, that's one down. There's two more pieces.
Raya, it's your turn.
Okay, so I myself do not play any chess. I've tried to. It's a bit. My brain just can't handle it. I will say politically though, Rhea probably has played a little bit, but I would say very casually. Do you mind explaining to me where the pieces need to be in order to like consider it like a check?
So, to take out a piece, I will give you brief examples that would be brain dead obvious. If you were to set a piece anywhere within the next tiles next to a queen, they would be taken out. Anything in the same row or the same column can be taken out, and anything within diagonal reach can be taken out as well. They can move any direction they want to. If it's diagonal, horizontal, in either format, as far as they want to, and anywhere within the immediate 9 squares.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna try the best that I possibly can, though I will say, may I also, just for the fuck of it, like Juliet did, make a intelligence roll, just see if there is any sort of hint of
Go for it.
I will take a picture of this. That is a natural 20.
Nice. I'm looking at one spot out of character that I think you could place it on.
So, is it a 20 total?
It is a natural 20, I think, plus 2 for a 22. For
All
just
right.
great intelligence.
So, with the ticking in the background and the moving of a piece and the tile drifting down, don't do that, that's cheating. And setting, you get the sense that you will have to set every piece first, and then you'll find out if they're placed correctly. And you're not sure what'll happen if you get it wrong. So you know that you have to calculate correctly and carefully. And once every piece, including yourselves, is set, you're going to find out if it's correct.
Oh god. It makes me so anxious.
And just because I'm going to be that mean DM, you're not allowed to converse with each other.
You're not my dad.
I will say, in-game for this mechanic, when Juliet was talking to herself, you guys were watching her lips move, but were not able to audibly hear anything she was saying.
Okay. God, this is so nerve-wracking. It doesn't help that I don't play chess, so it's just. Oh my god!
Fuck around, find out.
I have tried it before. It's just this shit's complex, and my
Just experiment. See what happens.
Oh god. Okay. Here. Jesus Christ, this is.
Just for funsies, I'm gonna take a picture and just draw on it for my, and then show you,
Do it.
KJ.
Go for it.
I'm gonna be the one to get us fucking killed here.
Yeah, I will say, even though you have 10 minutes in game, per turn, you get 2 minutes to try to decide a place to put a piece.
Okay. I can do this. All right, so I am going to place my piece. Just. Oh fuck. Fuck. Oh fuck. Damn it.
Believe in yourself.
Okay. Shit. I don't believe in myself. I don't whatsoever.
How many pieces are we placing again, including the 2 that were already there?
8 total. So 3 queens that are set off to the side of the board, and yourselves.
Oh my god.
Tarzan, you can't help them.
I
don't know what that's supposed to refer to as.
Okay,
You just
alright,
said
okay.
aggro. You have 50 seconds.
Fuck! I'm not good at this, y'all. I'm not. Fuck it. I am going to place. I'm so bad at this.
30 seconds.
I'm overthinking this. Okay. I am going to put it in the white square that is, so there's the top row. It's going to be 2 down. So the 3rd row down. It's going to be the white square on the very far right.
This one?
Yes.
You mention it. The queen moves. It sets in place. The tile sinks. Ethan, it is your turn.
We're having to use our big brains for this one, you guys.
You didn't think I was going to go easy on you, did you?
I wouldn't expect anything less from you, KJ.
Okay.
$60 seconds.
Now, what I was going to do isn't going to work anymore. But this will. So top left quarter, it'll be 4 rows from the top down. Yep, what you got your cursor on right there, that black one.
It sets in place. And
Right.
as it sets, we're now down to placing you 3. You hear shuffling in the room as from the corners of the room, slowly, pieces of the ceiling start falling from the exterior walls. Juliet, it's your turn.
Mm-hmm. It's a shame that I can't tell you anything because I'm looking at that like, Just comparing. One, two. Third row from the right. 1 white square up.
Hold on. Third row from the right.
Yep. That one.
Are you standing on it?
Is that our pieces or is that the pieces that...
You are down to placing yourselves.
Oh. I'm just double checking. Yes, I'm standing on it.
Raya, it is your turn. Where are you standing? I cannot hear you.
With the, like how this is arranged, I have a feeling I'm going to be wrong regardless. Fuck.
Pick a square.
Oh god. I'm nervous.
60 seconds.
I know. Rhea is going to second row, second square from the second white square from the right. Yeah, from that one.
You step on that square and it sets down. Ethan, where are you standing?
There's no spots left. That wouldn't take something. So, if I may... It's gotta be in this row and this column. But there's no spots left. Screw it. I would like... What's that?
I was just going to ask for a repeat of the rules that we were told in terms of placement.
All 8 pieces must be placed in such a way that none of the others can be taken out. You have to place all 8 before you find out if it's correct. You don't know what'll happen if you get it wrong.
And we're playing with queens, correct?
With queen pieces. Every
Okay.
single one of you function as a queen.
They have to be placed on the board.
On the board.
Yes, queen.
Okay, so I would like to take out my playing card set
Okay.
and pull out a Queen of Hearts. Walk over to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down from the top and 2 from the right. Yep. And place the card down there and walk off the board.
As soon as your foot hits that square, it sinks before you're able to leave it. And from the queen across the way, a bow and arrow is strung off the back, and an arrow is let loose. What's your armor class?
20.
It's at 25 to hit.
Deflect missiles.
Okay. Is that to see if it reduces all the damage?
You can use your reaction to deflect or catch the missile when you are hit with a ranged weapon attack. When you do so, the damage you take when the attack is reduced 1d10 plus 19. If you reduce the damage to 0 and have a free hand, you can expend 1 key point to make the ranged attack with the missile as a monk weapon.
Cool. So I'm going to roll some damage here. Jesus Christ.
It's gonna be good.
You take 23 points of damage.
24!
Okay, so you reduce it to nothing. You see it was aiming for your leg.
Okay. As part of the reaction, I can throw it back to where it came. Where did it come from? It came from the queen itself?
The queen across the way shot at you.
Do we want to attack it back?
As the attack happens and you catch it, all of the pieces, except for the 2 that were previously placed, move back to where they originally were, and the board resets.
Okay.
Juliet, it's your turn.
First row, second tile up. That's the
First row, second tile up.
Yep, that one.
Rhea, it is your turn.
I am. Sorry. Okay. Fuck. I am going to, like I had the last. Actually, fuck. This time I'm going to, instead of placing the first piece down, I am going to place myself. Double check. Jesus Christ. I am going to. Yeah, okay. I'm going to place myself third row down from the top, and that one white tile right there. Yeah.
Ethan, it is your turn. I'm going to keep it here and y'all can move it from there. Make my job easier.
Oh shit, fuck. Yeah, I fucked that up.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. 3 from the bottom, 4 from the left. Yep.
Juliet, it is your turn. Beforehand, I almost forgot. More of the ceiling from the edges of the room starts collapsing.
Stop blowing holes in my ship.
Can we voluntarily call for a restart?
You don't know?
Juliet will call out clear the board. See if anything happens.
As you call out, the board clears. And everything resets.
Because she already saw a flaw, so better address it quickly than try the whole thing and then fail. So again, she is going to place her first piece. First row, second black tile. Sorry. First row, first black tile.
Rhea, it is your turn.
Alright, she's going to stand the fourth row up, and then the most far right white tile.
I can draw circles. Ethan, it is your turn.
Same as before. 4 from the left, 3 from the bottom. Should keep everything
Juliet, it is your turn.
from intersecting.
More rubble from the ceilings begins to fall, and it is getting closer to the chessboard.
Just checking. Second to last row.
going. Top white tile. Yep, that one.
Draw a circle. Rhea, it is your turn. You are now placing yourself.
Oh, okay. I did specifically say Rhea decided to stand and place herself in the first position.
All right.
So this would be the piece.
At this point, if Juliet did not stand on the tile she just indicated, you are placing one of them.
Wait. Back up.
This piece, this one, and this one are the three queens previously waiting on the edge of the board. This is you. There's two more pieces to be placed, and it is Ethan and Juliet.
Oh god. I'm so sorry. I get one of y'all killed. Oh. Sorry, I am not good at this.
15 seconds.
Oh, fuck. Okay, screw it. Oh, fuck, I'm so bad at this. Fuck, second piece is going to be, third row down top. And then the black, I know this, the black square that is 1, 2, 3 over from the left. I'm so sorry. I'm not good at chess.
This piece or this piece?
What?
This square? Or this square?
I was talking the from the third row down, the
From the left, third one is this one.
The fuck. Yeah.
Who are you placing?
Shit. Ethan, I'm sorry.
Ethan, with that, it is your turn. You are placing Juliet.
Yeah, there's no spots left, is there? Just clear the board.
You clear the board. Juliet, it is your turn.
What
More
color
rubble is falling from the ceiling.
What color are all the queens?
They are all made of a white marble.
All of them are made of the white marble.
Yes.
Do they look different, or are they just all queens via
Each
text?
of them is sculpted differently. All of them are the same color. You get the feeling their color and their form do not matter, just the functionality of what they are.
So if that... I'm going to try something stupid.
I love trying stupid things.
And just seeing what will happen. And it's fine if nothing happens.
Do tell.
1, 2, 3, 4, 8. All queens to the same side. Top side.
Interesting.
Because technically if they're all queens and they're all the same color, they should all be on the same side. What if they just start? Right.
So you're just saying all queens to the top side?
All queens to the top. To the single most top row. All in a line.
Interesting. As you make that dictation, where do you think you would be standing?
I don't think it would matter where we were standing, because the point is we are all equal. And if one attacks the other, then it just gets all set off, because that is the nature of chess. One checks this one, then checks the other one, then checks the other one, and then checks the other one. So, if it must be, Juliet has mostly for the points been staying on the left side. She would be the first queen on the left side, and just move the pieces accordingly.
As you make that dictation and you start walking, none of the queens move. And this queen takes a shot at you. What's your armor class?
16.
It's a 23 to hit.
Sure, but can I half that with evasion? Or one of the thingies? One of the rogue thingies. Please hold. Sorry, uncanny dodge. That's what I meant.
You take 24 points of damage halved.
Cool, 12 points. What damage was that?
Piercing.
Okay.
Chris, you would like to say something?
No, I'm good.
Rhea, it is your turn.
So, Rhea is going to cast Mage Armor on herself. So her AC is 15 plus her Dex modifier, or plus 3 plus her Dex. So it would go from 11 to 15. Oh, dear God. And it's not my turn. God damn it. Okay.
You do hear Nathan's voice come back in, echoing across the chamber. Time is almost up. And you're still back at square one.
Fucking quips! God damn it.
I'll make it a little easier for you. You position it correctly. I'll let you keep a piece there.
So Rhea is, I think, is going to place the first piece on the fourth row up, the white tile on the far right at the very end. Yes.
Ethan, it is your turn.
Far left, the second white square from the top.
Juliet, it is your turn.
Fourth row. Second black square from the bottom.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. Grand. Fourth row.
No. 1, 2. Oh yeah. 1, 2, 3. Fourth row. Second black square from the bottom. Yep.
Rhea, it is your turn.
So nerve-wracking.
That's the point.
I know. Freya is going to put her piece, or put herself second row down, third black square from the right, I believe. Sorry, second black square, second.
Ethan, it is your turn.
And also, I'm so sorry if I'm the one who's fucking all of this up.
I've screwed it up at least a couple times. I know that for sure. It's just, yeah, it's hard. There's so many different variations it could be.
I'm so nervous. I feel I'm gonna bite off my lipstick.
Second row up. Second or first black square.
This one?
Yeah, that one. You got your cursor on.
Juliet.
What's everyone's title?
Rhea
Marquis.
is a countess.
No.
I don't know where your mind's going with that, but I'm here for it.
Because Juliet is by title a queen. So I'm seeing if maybe the others could have different names. I'm just playing with you, KJ. That's what she does.
Listen, I'm here for it.
Comparing. I've placed 7 pieces on my board. Mm. Mm. Eight queens, including us. Was that what was
Yes.
said? The queens that have moved so far in terms of like taking another queen, was that technically us moving, or was that the pieces on the board? If you can recall, in case that was a mechanism.
I think I see what you're asking.
Yeah.
Both times that a queen shot, they shot at you guys. The first time it was because Ethan had placed himself in the path to be taken out by a queen that was already placed. The other was you when you tried to place all of them on the same row.
Mm-hmm.
You get the feeling his was just because that's how the piece would move in a game of chess.
Mm-hmm.
Would be to take out the piece that's obvious. For yours, you get the feeling you were playing against the rules. You're only allowed to move one piece at a time.
But that's what's so fun. I need to stop looking at my own board. That's confusing. No. No. No.
You've got 30 seconds.
Who was the last thing placed?
Ethan. He placed himself here.
Whereabouts? Sorry, move the cursor.
Ethan placed himself here.
Okay. Who is the one? Oh, sorry. What is the one? Last row, that white square. Piece
This
of player.
Or this one. Both of these two are pieces. So this is Ethan. This is Rhea.
Okay. I am going to place myself directly beside Ethan because I can't see a place I could achieve otherwise, and I would like to see if there's any in the correct spots.
Which side of Ethan?
To the left.
As you place yourself there, the board resets itself. And given that both of the queens that would have been able to take you out are the two other people who are placing pieces, unless you decide to attack Juliet, nothing happens, but the board entirely resets. Rhea, it's your turn. And you hear, we've only a couple minutes left. Feeling generous. I'll give you a little helping hand. And the first queen moves here. The next queen moves here. Rhea, it is your turn. Your voice, Nathan's voice also says, and you can converse with each other. Make all your moves at the same time if you wish. But you have 3 minutes. Your time starts now. And you legitimately have 3 minutes to set the entire board. You can talk amongst yourselves. Starting now.
Oh, shoot.
Rhea is going to turn to Juliet and first suggest that she takes her position on the third row down, first black square from the right.
Juliet is which way?
She's suggesting this way.
That works.
Are you placing a piece there?
I am, because I had that on my board. Since you are conversing, is Juliet able to make gestures indicating where in her mind she had mentally placed pieces?
You are able to converse with each other as you wish.
Great.
I will say, as you place the last queen there, you hear, as the tile sinks into place, there's a tick.
That's fine.
Is it a good tick or a bad tick?
You have 2 minutes.
We don't know. I'm gonna share to you guys the 7 that I placed. And that's where I got stuck. And that's usually where I end up getting stuck, on the 8th.
Okay, let's take a look here.
You have only left to place yourselves. Where are you standing? You have 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Juliet is going to stand. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th row. Second white tile down.
5th row from the top or bottom?
From the top. Oh, just 5th row. Second tile down from the top. Up.
Hold on. 2, 3, 4, 5. Second from the top?
That one, yes.
As you step in place, it sinks, sets, and there's a tick. Where are you two standing? You have 30 seconds. Tick, tock, tick, tock.
4th from the bottom, 4th from the left. No, that won't work. It's a different one.
9 seconds.
Yeah, why not?
That spot where the cursor is over now.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
Consider moving diagonally to the left, 1 black square.
I will do so.
Is that intersecting with anything?
Doesn't appear to be, no.
Doesn't appear to be, not for now.
It sets and ticks. Rhea, where are you standing? You have no time left. The ceiling is starting to collapse.
Fuck!
I see it. I see it.
Rhea?
What is it?
Rhea?
Yeah.
Bottom, 2nd from the bottom, 2, 3 from the right.
All right. It's no thinking. Just go. Just meow. Meow, meow, meow.
As you hit the square, it sets and ticks in place. The ceiling stops collapsing. Just before it started to hit the chessboard itself.
It was close.
Oh,
Dia was so here for the entire thing.
oh God. Dia fucking coming in and clutch. Dia.
Double doors across the way, opposite the way that you entered this board, opens up. That was previously unseen, and Nathan's voice from sourcelessly, just says, "Down to the hair. But you lived. Take this as your lesson. Don't meddle in things that you cannot compete with. Go on home. Tell no one of this. I have more games to play with us." And as you leave the board and leave out these double doors, you are standing outside the front gates. Your carriage is awaiting to take you home. And that is where we're going to end.
Oh my god. I love how Knifin just brought us in to fuck with us.
I thought that was going to be a whole spiel about the importance of communication.
I mean, that too.
That's what I got from that.
I had to start giving you guys hints because I legitimately only have till 12, and I was like, I gotta end it.
Yeah.
You guys did good.
I'm such big dumb when it comes to chess. Checkers, I'll fucking bop, 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 but like chess, no. Oh god.
Yeah. I was going at it from row across and just thingy.
Yeah, we're trying to do like one row across and kind of work your way across it, but yeah.
It's like Sudoku, but just more fucked up.
Yeah.
And like,
Is KJ frozen?
No, it's 12.
Oh no.
oh no.
Well, in that case, I guess I will end the stream for us. You guys have a great week.
Bye.
Join us for Star Wars TTRPG on Tuesday, Dimensional Dial on Wednesday, and hopefully we get back to our rightful place. We get back to our Tales of Vardin big battle with the False Hydra on Thursday. So
Randall's just chilling in the tum tum.
Yep. For now.
For now.
Next round coming out.
Oh,
Swinging.
I'm ready.
We'll see you guys, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Have a great one. And there's more to come on To Be Diced.